What? Melissa, I'm Jeff. I'm happy to meet you. Understand that you've given me a call because there's some issues going on.
Yeah.
Related to this incident with the bus crash.
Right. That's correct.
Okay. So, just before we get into it, I want to tell you that what you say here, I will hold to myself. No reports are going to be given to your supervisors or anybody else. Hold it in confidence. My job is to see what we can do to kind of take the edge off of this thing for you and help you to get back to life's normal function as quickly as we can. I'll need to ask you a number of questions as we go through, but I also want you to feel free to open up and talk to me about whatever aspects of this thing tend to be bothering you the most, okay?
Okay.
So, I know that I met you at the group session. Didn't have a lot of chance to interact with you then. I just wondering if you can tell me a little bit about what you went through, and
sure.
you know, what the overall situation was for you, and sort of what your role was.
Okay. Well, the call was a few days ago, as you know, and the incident that I believe having the most trouble with, as I'm a paramedic, and we had responded to a rescue for a bus crash and a box truck that had also fallen into a ravine, into a creek. When we got there, I went to work with one of my EMT co-workers on a little girl who was trapped in the cab of the box truck.
She was in the truck?
She was in the truck. She was trapped inside and she was mostly unconscious. Her father had been thrown from the vehicle and he was deceased, and her mother had also been thrown from the vehicle, but at the time we didn't know her status. I spent most of my time in the cab of the box truck working on her and trying to get her out. She pulled through, but even though she did all right, I'm still having some difficulty getting past this particular call, and I'm not quite understanding why this one seems as hard as it has been.
Have you had events in the past that have stuck with you like this one, or is this one something different about it?
This is a little bit different. I think because we knew some other people who were involved in the accident professionally, it raised some different issues with just having friends that were also involved, and knowing that this little girl now is parentless. Her mother passed away. I think that's part of it. I've been on calls before where children have been injured and in trouble, and I don't know if it was just interacting with her a little bit more than usual, or knowing that she doesn't have parents now, that's really giving me a hard time.
You said a little bit earlier that she was mostly unconscious. Were there moments in time when she was actually awake and communicating with you?
There were a few times, and of course during those times she was sad and crying and asking for her mother, and there's only so much we could do. Obviously she was in pain, so we were trying to calm her as best we could. Then of course if she slipped back into being unconscious again, and another wave of panic kind of hit, is she going to be okay?
How is this showing up in your life? You're saying that this is different for you. It's a little bit more painful. How is that showing up in your life?
Well, I thought at first I was doing okay. I knew it was going to be stressful at the beginning, but I'm still having trouble sleeping, and dreaming about the event. It's becoming even more vivid, so I'm not resting well and not eating well. And also just, if I could get some more sleep, I think I'd be less cranky, but I'm on edge, I feel a lot. And I can't seem to get enough rest. It's just, there's no restful sleep.
Right. So sleep has been disturbed and you're more irritable, and how's your eating going? I've lost appetite. I know it would be helpful if I could get back into my routine. I'm unable to, and this is the first time this has happened to me. It's frustrating to not be able to get back into that. So, a very bad thing happened. There was the death of the girl's parents. You had some contact with her, and your reactions are uncomfortable, but they're not abnormal. I want you to know that from the beginning, that I'm not hearing anything that says you're going crazy or that there's some inherent weakness in you. This is an unusual event. You're having a pretty strong reaction to it, and it's a very uncomfortable, painful reaction for you to have. But again, not an abnormal thing. Okay. As you think of this situation, is there some aspect, some element, some mental photograph, a smell, a thought, something that comes up that you can say, that was the very worst moment of this whole thing, or that left me with the most serious impact? Is there something about this that you can say, that was my worst part of this whole thing?
I think those moments for her when she was conscious and crying, just wailing when she was awake, were probably the worst. I have a niece who's close to her age, and I think I picture her a lot in that situation, which is very difficult. And I just remember thinking, I hope we have enough time. I hope that she's okay when we do get her out of here and we can get her safe. And then to work so hard and have her lose her parents, I think that's just part of it. But I can hear the crying. I can still hear the crying.
So you're hearing the crying, and again, when it was the points when she was awake that were more bothersome than the other aspects of this.
Right.
Is there something that you tell yourself when you hear these cries in your sleep, and when you're reacting to that? Is there something that you're saying in your head about this?
I wish I could have done more to soothe her at that time, and there was just nothing that. Yeah, obviously she was in pain and very scared, and I feel like I was powerless in that situation. There was nothing that I could do at that moment to help her, and I think that's
sort of out of your control.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And what have you tried to do to help you to get this under control and to put it in a place where it's not getting to you so much?
Well, I thought at first it would just go away, so I think the few days afterwards I just ignored it a little bit. I tried to put myself into a routine. And get to sleep at a certain time and know that I just really needed rest. And I think part of that now is putting so much pressure on not being able to achieve that it has also become a stumbling block. I would like to interact with my friends and family more, but I don't feel like doing that.
Is there any activity that you do or that you did after this that normally would have helped but didn't help in this case?
I do normally like being outdoors and going outside. I went to the park recently and I heard people playing in the creek and the river and splashing around, and that when I would normally do something like that, it would be very restorative and help. Instead, those sounds came back from the incident, and I feel like I have nothing to go for. If that's something that I would normally use. So
the water moving in the stream
right,
normally would be soothing to you, but in this case it brought back the images. Is that what you're saying?
Yelling and normal noise that you would hear for
so
kids and children.
that's gotten suppressed, and the abnormal things, the painful things of the scene have come back to you. Okay, all right. Do you have any sense of what might help you from this point on?
I feel as though if I could get some rest, I feel like that would be beneficial. I think that would help. I can't get there. Okay. So I guess I don't know what to do.
Are you having trouble sleeping in terms of falling asleep, waking up after a short sleep, or waking up multiple times, or waking up early in the morning, or a combination of
waking
those?
Up like multiple times, just very restless, I guess, or maybe just wondering. I know that I can lay down and feel like I'm falling asleep, but it's just I don't feel rested, and I think it's these incidents that keeps coming back.
Okay. Tell me about your caffeine use. Do you drink a lot of coffee? You drink a lot of Coke?
I do drink coffee in the morning. I'm trying to stay away from sodas, but I don't know that I've changed my routine since the incident. However, with less sleep, I probably am drinking more coffee. So
okay.
Might not be helpful.
Well, that may be one of the things to kind of tone down the caffeine utilization.
Sure.
Don't try to read before you go to sleep. That'll keep you awake. very good idea for you to get some exercise to help burn off some of those extra energy bits and get some of that under control. What you're saying is not abnormal. It's not bizarre. It's not strange. It's pretty understandable. It's not comfortable. I understand that, so I'm not disregarding what you're saying. As you're talking about it, do you feel any sense of relief? Is there, or is this about the same?
I do feel. I think the more I can talk about it, and maybe even talk to somebody who knows helpful techniques and can share that with me is helpful. There are friends and family who I don't think understand, so I feel I can go to them. They're supportive, but they don't understand.
They just don't understand the work that you do.
My colleagues seem to have gotten, most of them seem to have gotten past this at this point, so I almost feel like I don't want to bring it up with them necessarily. They seem to be doing well, so that's also a frustration for me because they're doing well, I expect to be doing well.
Every person has some incident, some case that sticks with them. Even my own experience, I was a paramedic years ago, and I still have memories of some of the cases I handled, and all these years later, and they're still very crisp, and it's as if they happened this morning. So it's not unusual for something to kind of latch onto you. You can go through 10,000 other cases and they don't get you, but this is yours. This is one that stuck. It has some sticking power, lasting power for you. That's not unusual. It's not comfortable, but it's not unusual. And over time, what we normally see is that those things generally tend to start dampening down, coming down. I'm going to be calling you in the next day or two and checking on your welfare and see how you're doing. If this doesn't start showing some signs of improvement, and if you do these things like get some exercise and knock down on the caffeine, especially don't take caffeine in the afternoon and evening, and don't try to read before you go to sleep. And do talk to the people you trust and the people who you feel who do understand you, and know that you're not reacting in any abnormal way. If you kind of do those things and I check on you, if we find that things are getting better in the next couple of days, then we don't have to go any further. If you need more, I can either meet with you again, or we can get your referral. You might need a little bit more coaching sometimes to get through these things. So we have other methods to deal with, but I think that for now, try to do some of the things I'm suggesting here, and let's see if we can talk about it in the next day or two. And I think that hopefully by then the edge will be taken off. If not, don't be afraid to say so, because we do have other things that we can do. How are you feeling about it now as we've talked?
I feel better about it. I think it really just helps to understand that this is a normal. Sometimes I think maybe somebody just needs to tell you it's normal, and I appreciate.
And it is.
I appreciate that your help and also contact in the future. It makes me.
Any questions that you have, or any things that you'd like to bring out that you haven't brought out already?
No, I think so. I think with the tips, I'm going to give those a try, definitely, and hope that that's okay. I would like to be back to normal. I just think maybe rushing it a little too much. I don't know if that's part of the problem too.
Yeah, you got to do these things at your own pace, and don't judge your reactions to this on what other people are doing or where they are. This is your situation, and it's your reaction, and that's a very valuable piece of information for you, is that you can't base your recovery time on somebody else's calendar. It's on your calendar. It's when you're ready, when you feel more comfortable, you'll get there. And how many years have you been in a paramedic service?
12.
12 years. So, and you've had many other cases that were awful cases, and yet you were able to get through those. So this is that one little piece that got stuck for you, and probably because of the contact, the closeness that you had with the child. So my expectation of this is that it's also going to come back down, except this one got a little bit more of a kick in the beginning, so it's taken a little bit more time to get under control. But don't think of that as abnormal or strange. It just happens to be the way it is.
Right. Well, that is good to know. Thank you.
You know, we'll do whatever we can to continue to help you progress towards return to your normal adaptive functions. And I would expect that that's going to happen for you, especially over the next few days.
Okay. Good. Thank you. I appreciate that.